This is the first part of our 9-week adventure in New Zealand. Starting in North Island, this is our first week. We picked up our camper van from Mad Campers. We headed straight to Orewa to see Alice and Sandy. Alice is a friend of Yvonne's she hadn't seen since university times. Then we went to Whangarei to see Nikki, another friend of Yvonne's who she hasn't seen since she was working in the airline industry. We had an early start to do some yoga before heading into the Waipura forest. The trees here were incredible, so straight and tall, and some of them were absolutely enormous. We stopped in Dargaville for lunch where Yvonne had a mince pie, meeting our first Mad Campers challenge, 8 to go. There was some great scenery all the way to our campsite in Paihia. Our first day out from Paihia looked like it was going to be wet with a tropical storm brewing, but we went out anyway, a trip up to Cape Reinga and then on 90 Mile Beach. Although it was a bit foggy, the rain held off. We were really pleasantly surprised and we had an amazing time at the Cape. We stopped at a great little beach for lunch. It was still misty, but the views nevertheless were still brilliant. Then it was time for 90 Mile Beach. Barry, our driver, was a bit of a character and went zooming for the surf.
Just joking, guys, just joking. Just joking, Deep. You should have seen the looks on your faces.
Before long, we stopped at a great place where the dunes were high and did some awesome sandboarding. Great fun this was. It got some great squeals out of Yvonne as well, but she loved it and she was really good at it too. Then for a bit of fun we decided to have a run to the sea. And then we went for a little walk along the beach and then let the bus catch up with us. We pretended to flag it down just for a laugh.
On tape? Yeah. Right, there we go. No one's there. Let's do it, shall we? Hang on, team. Hold on. Oh, wrong way. That's the straight. Here we go, team. Hang on.
This had been a great full day out and we learnt loads about the culture as well as having a great adventure.
Yeah, we got it, team. We got it.
The next day was absolutely hideous with rain of biblical proportions. We decided to stay local and visited the Bay of Islands honey shop, which was really interesting.
What a privilege to see inside. and not even beekeepers, honestly, they have no idea. So what they did, the top one here,
Busy in there, isn't it?
yeah, there will be about 1 million bees here.
And
If
just
you
one
put you
queen.
No, there's 3 queens.
Right.
There's Amy here, Emily there, and Sarah up in H here.
We bought some honey and then went to visit Haruru Falls. The next day was super calm, we'd all survived, even the little baby ducks, which was brilliant. We were lucky to get out on the sea this day after the storm. The sea was actually still a bit rough and we weren't sure if we were going to get to the hole in the rock, but it was definitely worth a try. We learnt loads about the history of this area, which was absolutely fascinating, regarding Captain Cook and the Maori peoples. Extra sick bags were dished out to everyone as the boat headed into the open sea at this point. But we're all fine, no worries. This was despite there being a swell up to 3 metres.
Well, here we are. If you're able. So welcome to the round.
We did get to the hole in rock, but we couldn't sail through it. Although the boat could have fitted, the swell was just too big. We stopped for lunch on Urupukapuka Island before starting to head back on a smaller vessel. I found a sheltered cove and we did some boom netting. Never done this before, a little bit scary jumping in, but it was great fun. You really had to hang on, otherwise you could have been swept over the side, but it was good fun. Back in Bahia, we managed to complete another Mad Camper Challenge. 7 to go. We were up well before dawn for the next day for a long drive down to get a ferry to Tiri Tiri Matangi, a scientific nature reserve. And all the birds are talking with the bell bird. So he's got a call right for us, glass and other stretching together. As well as seeing lots of rare birds and some more common ones, we met up with friends here, Simon and Morag, who we'd met in the UK a few years beforehand. It was great having a special guided tour and seeing all these birds around the island. It really is a brilliant place to see birds. There was nowhere else on New Zealand we saw such a wide selection.
New Zealand had its own endemic quail, and these like fill the nest.
We were lucky to see a really rare lizard here also on the island, as well as the great weta, an enormous insect bigger than your hand. Then we drove back north a little way to a peninsula just north of Auckland, which is full of nature, great beaches, where we were to camp here at a DOC site. Explore the area a little bit, checking out another beach and a load more wildlife before heading off to the Ambury campground just south of Auckland. The Ambury campground had a real fruit ice cream truck, which was brilliant, and loads of fun animals that Yvonne interacted with. There was a lovely walk around one of the inland coastal routes, and we saw loads of birds, including some kingfishers. This was the first time I'd ever seen kingfishers in the wild anywhere. The next day was an Auckland day. First stop was to walk over the Auckland Harbour Bridge, which was a really epic experience. Then we went to the Sky Tower and we did 3 floors, including having a longer stop on floor 53 to have a milkshake and just admire the views across the city and look at the bridge we just crossed over. We finished our day in Auckland by visiting the museum. It was a brilliant museum and we learnt a lot about the culture, but the particular thing we learnt about was the history of New Zealand with regards to the UK, a lot of which we didn't know. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Keep watching because the next episodes will be released soon. Bye for now.